Listen, Nick, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. I do really appreciate your time. First things
Right.
first, keep this really simple as a starting question. How's your day been going?
My day's not bad. I'm a school teacher, so I'm currently chasing young people up for GCSE music coursework. So
Oh, secondary school teacher then.
secondary school teacher, yeah, yeah.
Okay, no worries. Incredible, incredible real life job. How do you have the time to make music when you're doing that?
That's it, isn't it? I'm not sure. It just happens.
The
So
expectation
it
and
helps being
belief.
a music teacher, I suppose.
Yes. I was going to say the expectation on that side is that you would be constantly pushing your music on your students and saying, "Hey, check out this band. It's called Hell's Ditch," and
Yeah,
they're pretty good. And see what they think, right?
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Progressively trying to be the cool guy.
does it work?
No.
Oh,
No, so some of them are into it, and it's quite cool. I can use some of the sort of. It's cool to hear some of their feedback sometimes, and to talk to them about where they're discovering music and things like that. Yeah,
well,
keeps.
of course, yeah. The generations difference, young generation, and how they discover music, and also what they're listening to. It's a valuable tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it is, and it's interesting as well. It keeps your ear to the ground, and keeps everything a bit kind of fresher, I suppose. And I think if I wasn't working in a school, I'd just be out of touch, like with everything.
No, that's a fair point. Do you find you ever used your students as a sounding board for the music that Hell's Ditch makes?
I mean, if it comes up and they want to hear it, like they'll listen to it. The most common response is like, oh, it's good to be fair, which is always interesting. But no, they seem to quite like it, yeah, and it's good, I suppose. Yeah, it uses a bit of use them as a bit of a sort of a soundboard. But no, it's nice to share your sort of musical endeavors and things, and I suppose it's good to be, I guess, be the role model that you'd expect, I suppose. But yeah, he says in his third punk band.
Oh, yeah, but still, it's amazing. Going back a while when I was in secondary school, I don't think we had a music teacher, let alone a music teacher that was in a band. So, it would have been so cool. I'd have loved it back then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think my general secondary school music experience was never particularly great. Although, I remember singing some choirs, and I think I had like one music teacher that she just all I remember is that she sang the register, which is something I'd never
Oh,
tried. But yeah, I wasn't blown away. I don't think. Let's put it that way.
admire her confidence.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that definitely wasn't where the journey started, I don't think.
So, with 3 months into 2023, talking about Hell's Ditch specifically, how has the year been treating you all so far? Do you feel like you've got a lot done?
Yeah, we've recorded our debut EP, which is out tomorrow, and we're excited about releasing that.
Hmm.
We've got one tour down, which is the Good Little Run in February, which is our first kind of run on our own in the UK. We did one last year, and that went really well. It was like not surprisingly well, but we knew it would go okay, but it was just nice. And it was cool to play a bunch of places that we've not played together in this band before. Um, and yeah, we've got some other sort of songs in the pipeline, some things brewing. We've got Mount Punk Fest coming up, a couple of other tours in the pipeline. So yeah, so far, touch wood, so far, 2023 is treating the band well.
Yeah, that's great. It's a nice little chunk of stuff in the first 3 months, as you said already. We're not just super close to the EP. We're basically there to the time of recording. It's the night before. Take cover via Silent Cult Records. Where's your head at with it right at this very minute? Are we at the stage now where you're still very excited about getting feedback from it and hearing what people think about the whole thing as a package, or are you kind of just sick of it and you want out in the world just to walk on its own 2 feet?
I'm mega excited for people to hear it. I mean, we've as a band we've worked really hard on it. Been working on some of these songs for quite some time. Yeah, it's nice to get something out that's sort of a body of complete work, our first body of complete work, really.
Mm.
And we're super mega absolutely humbled to be working with Silent Court. They've been absolutely great. So I think we're all just really excited. The camp is excited. We've been sort of chatting about it today, and I think we're just ready to release it and try and rock it. Really, yeah, can't wait. I think you can sit on something for so long and fester over it, but I think that collectively we're quite good at kind of, once it's done, we've kind of left it, and then now it's ready to release. We're like, right, let's revisit it, give it another listen, and do what we need to do with it. And yeah, just all mega excited about getting it out. Can't wait.
Which is great to hear, because I kind of asked that question with a certain weight to it, because we are still in post-pandemic times, so to speak, where artists, bands, and so on have had massive amounts of work completed during lockdowns when they had a lot more time. And often these releases are now coming out last year, this year, and so on. So a lot of the time, people have been sitting on this music for a very, very long time. So there is that sense of apathy and already moved on musically from it. So it's interesting. It's always interesting to hear that, whether that excitement exists, or, as you put it, you've left it and it's almost getting a refreshed state when it goes out to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in that respect, we haven't been sitting on it for a particularly long time, and we only recorded it last month. We're recording with a guy called Sam Cook, who's just like, not only is he just deep value for money, but he's just so incredibly talented and great to work with. And then we've been getting mastered by Sonic Iguana, a guy called Mass, who used to sing in a band Squirt Gun. And he's just making everything sound absolutely mega. So we haven't been sitting on the masters really for that long, only for sort of about a month or so. And in terms of like the songs, they're kind of just from a bit of a vault of songs that I've put together or written as ideas, and then we've sort of had those on different playlists and thought about what we'll go in and record and when and what could be used for. And it just so happens that the songs have just really developed really nicely and into this sort of package, this EP. And I think in terms of our sound, we're it's a bit more progressive. We are sort of, I feel we're honing not what our sound is, but what our sound will be for a while. We're honing that now a little bit. And I think, the idea of releasing an EP with that in mind as a bit of a kind of springboard to elsewhere in terms of, the next body of work or the next release, then that's all part of the excitement, I think. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do, and it's interesting to describe it in a way. So would you say the EP, Take Cover overall, is an encapsulation of what Hell's Ditch has been up to this point, and that it's not necessarily reflective of what might be going forward, or is it just this is us and this is what we will be like?
I think it's a little bit more like this is us now and what we are,
Right.
and a healthy hint of what will become in the future. And I think some of the stuff we've released previously is part of that journey. And you could put all the stuff we've released that's not on this EP together, and we've sat and we've done that together, and it does. It all sounds complementary and it sounds good. But I think it's just in terms of, I guess, some bits of it's musicianship, some of it's songcraft, some of it's like not being afraid to put like a glockenspiel track on there,
Absolutely.
And I suppose collectively we listen to so many different types of music, so I think, I suppose, in response to the question, it kind of encapsulates where we've gotten to, and most of where we'll be for a bit.
Would you point at that there, what you just described there, as the vision behind the creation of this EP? As you say, it's music and a collection of Hell's Ditch, as it were. Do you think that's what the vision is? Did you have a vision?
I think with the EP collectively, and I guess with some of the ideas of the songs that are the ideas that I've been presenting for us to all work on and write. I think we had that vision that we'd get to a point at some point. And I think when we released the first couple of tracks, so Vacant Hearts and Hope is Hope, we were very much experimenting with what that might be eventually and what it might become. And I remember distinctly even when we started the band, the odds was completely stacked against us. We started it literally, and then COVID
Yeah.
arrived, and we were already sort of talking about, artists like Sam Fender, for example,
Mm.
who just is absolutely killing it with the songwriting, but bringing together such a sort of tapestry, if you like, of different influences and things. And we were already thinking about, coming from complete and utter punk scene and hardcore punk and a bit of folk punk and things like that, and just thinking how we tie all those things together and sort of carve out our own fairly unique sound, which is, quite it's an in-depth thought process, but it's the kind of thought process I feel like you have, when you're excited about something and when something's coming together well, and it's like the possibilities are almost endless. It's not like tomorrow we're going to wake up and be like, let's just do some drum and bass now.
Yeah, 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 of course.
We are kind of an embodiment of our influences and things. But I think and hope that when the EP comes out, people will think, oh, but it is Hell's Ditch. That's Hell's Ditch. And that was kind of the vision, I think. That makes sense. I feel like I've just described every artist's vision ever, but yeah.
No, because it's always an interesting sort of area to come from when we are talking like an EP of basically what you've described as here we are situation with music and tracks that may have already existed as well. Sticking to that way of thinking though, on the idea of the vision and what you were trying to create when it came down to it, do you think you benefited then, and we've got to go back a few years here, to the early portions of the pandemic? Say Hell's Ditch started and you were trying to find out who you were and what you were capable of. Having that time where nobody could really do anything, and I realize, I guess, you may not have been positioned to do anything anyway. Do you think you benefited from having that?
In many ways, yeah, but not in the ways that you'd expect. I mean, because it didn't just, the pandemic didn't just arrive and then, obviously there was things going on and stuff like that, and I was busy in places and going to school and things like that. But it wasn't like I suddenly, we write collectively, but I'm sort of the principal guy who brings the ideas together, and I'm like, hey guys, what about this? And we develop and write the parts together. But it wasn't suddenly like I had all this wave of inspiration. And actually, in many ways, it felt like a bit of a pressure, like, oh, I must go running every day, or oh God, I must write a song a day. I must do that because I'll never get this time back. And I've been reading this book, actually, the art, is it the art of, not the art of war, but it's about dealing with procrastination and dealing with stuff like that, and getting your ideas out. And actually, I just don't operate like that. I'm very intuitive, and when I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. Or if I wake up and something's there, or in the shower singing and playing chest drums like we all do, and something springs to mind, then I'll follow that up as soon as possible. But I'm not one of those people that can sort of think like, right, today I'm going to write a song and sit down. I could probably sit down and come up with something that's going to sound okay and passable and that, but I don't enjoy it in that way. However, I have gotten a lot better at sitting down and then becoming more intuitive and being a bit more inspired. If I, by just sitting there and thinking, right, I'm going to read this, I'm going to see how it makes me feel, and then I'm going to try and write a song about it. Or, all the stuff that was happening on the news and the politics and the social politics around who was benefiting and who was getting, for want of a better expression, crapped all over during that time and things like that. All those things I did find inspiring, and I did manage to get bits of lyrics and bits of songs. So in that respect, that was helpful. And the other way I think it was really helpful for us as a band was just making us massively appreciate how much it meant to us to be able to play music, go to gigs, hang out, and do all those things suddenly when all that was taken away. Not that we didn't appreciate it before, but these things are just part of your culture and part of your life, aren't they? And as soon as someone takes it away, it's kind of like, oh. And then there was a point, wasn't there, where we were like, oh, what's the outcome? Or we're going to die? What is it, So So I think in that respect, it helped the band. And we spent a lot of time on calls together, thinking about ideas for what we do with artwork and
Oh, yeah.
how we wanted to move forward, and basically just using the band as a kind of light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, and something to look forward to doing and to prepare a bit for when we got back to doing it. So in that respect, it probably brought us together as a band in a bit more of a rapid and organic way than perhaps it would have done if we were just like, right, let's be a band, let's go. Long answer, but that I think that's probably what all that did for us as a group collectively and for us as a band.
Yeah, that's amazing, because you kind of nailed another thing I was going to ask, but I think you just got it right there at the end. And it was going to be, considering the negatives of the past few years, and we try and put some positives out of it. It's a miracle that Hell's Ditch survived, basically, considering you were such a fledgling band. And I was going to ask what drove you to carry on, but I think you kind of just summed it up there at the end, really, didn't you? The light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was, I mean, personally for me, I'm a man who's in a band. I've never not had a band and had that kind of social connection to the music that I love and other musicians and friends and people that I love. So for me, it's never going to be an option to not be a musician, to not just be musical. And I think because we're all sort of on that page, it kind of just made us extra determined to make sure that the pandemic didn't kill us off and didn't stop the vibe. And trying to keep momentum going when you've released 2 records during a nationwide lockdown, the pandemic, to the soundtrack of Tory despair. It was just it was an experience that I've never had before. And it was kind of what spurred us on. And I don't think there was ever a point where we were like, oh no, we're not going to be a band. It was more like, right, this is going to bring us closer together.
Yep.
And we're gonna come out of this swinging, basically, which is hopefully what we've done.
Hit the ground running once you were able to, basically. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that in mind, then, how much have you been paid? How much of your listener base, and I'm talking about more from a social media aspect, say, even things like your YouTube comments or even throwing streams online there, do you pay attention to? Have you noticed that reactions to, say, the likes of Take the Night Off and Ghosts, that has kind of buoyed Hell's Ditch and how Take Cover will be received?
Yeah, I mean, we've noticed an increase in plays and people coming across the band and coming across the music and clearly like enjoying it to the point where those things have gotten bigger and those let's call them statistics or numbers have gotten larger.
Yep.
But I think in terms of while all the pandemic and things were going on, we had a few real bits of good luck, like a couple of Radio 1 plays, a mention in Kerrang, Daniel P. Carter, and just a few things that actually just sort of helps us out. And a massive shout out as well to BBC Radio introducing Lincolnshire and Sarah Fletcher. All those things were really helpful because we were sort of played almost every week on that. And all those things obviously spurred on the kind of spirit that we had to keep it going, because it was clear that people would enjoy it when we were able to get out and play. But until then, because there's I mean, we recorded a lockdown video for the song "Hope Is Hope," where we all filmed it ourselves on our phones at home. And a good friend of ours, Steve Haddock, who's just a massive creative blessing in disguise, put it all together. And all these people, like the guy who records us and the guy who did the video and does a lot of our photos, these are all just like sort of friends of ours as well. So we're just also fortunate to have like a kind of creative team around us that are also supporting the band as well. So I think all those sort of things definitely spurred us on. And then obviously the pinnacle that was actually the kind of fruition, if you like, or the end point was that all those things were conducive to people being able to hear the band and interact with the band and stuff before we actually even played a gig. And I think that was really nice, and it was heartwarming, and we're still really humbled by it. And like I was saying about the tour, we were just really humbled that people would come out on a Monday or a Tuesday, and it was raining or cold, or there's trains not on or whatever. So yeah, I mean, we'll never not be humble, but it's, yeah, we have seen an increase in interest in the band, and we do hope, really hope, obviously, that continues, and we get to, you know, get our jams out to as many people as possible, because we enjoy it and we want other people to enjoy it too.
Well, of course, and all of that, what you've described there, that has helped you on your journey to where we are now, is of course incredible, and a lot of it should never be taken for granted. But none of that would matter if the music didn't resonate with people, which clearly is. So I have to ask you, from your perspective, what is it about Hell's Ditch that is resonating with so many people?
I have always been a huge believer in, you know, you can look the best, you can have all the best gear, you can play all the biggest shows or whatever, but if you can't pen something that is, I don't know, that can resonate, and b, pull that stuff off live, then you've probably just got a bit more work to do. And I think what it is that resonates is a sort of blend of, I'm gonna lay it out there and say, maybe it's the songs are pretty catchy. Um, you know, there's a very upbeat feel about it. We try and address issues that mean things to us, both on a sort of personal and social level and economic level. And you know, we're writing and releasing music at a time when there's unions out on strike. There is, you know, massive kind of overhang from the pandemic, and people have sort of had enough. And I think, you know, we were writing songs with those kind of emotions in mind collectively anyway. And I think that people can get on board, they can get behind it, they can stand there and sing for a bit of hope, or they can stand there and kind of, you know, want to just let loose, have a dance, you know. And I think it's that kind of togetherness. And again, maybe something that the pandemic took away, that's now coming back, that sort of is within the music and the vibe, maybe, is again a reason why things are resonating. But I mean, it's extraordinary, and it's lovely to see, to be honest. And it's just, you know, it's just nice, isn't it, to think that something that you thought up, or something that you know, did a scrappy demo of and then passed around and tried to record bits of it at home and then passed around to each other, has now been released into the wild forever, and people actually like it. I mean, it's amazing. It's still, you know, will always just feel amazing.
Hopefully it continues to feel amazing. I imagine it will. Going back to the tour that took place in February, do you have a particular date from that, a show that was more memorable than any of the others? I mean, you were down my neck of the woods, New Cross Inn, which is like a 15-minute drive from where I'm currently sitting. So that was your favorite one or not?
I mean, I love playing London, but I just my personal favorite thing is to play shows. I love it. I've been doing it forever, and I hope to continue to do it till I die. But I think for us, sort of maybe thinking, it's hard to speak collectively, but I mean, we had a really cool show in Edinburgh.
Oh, cool.
We've never been up there as a group of friends and as a band before. We had a day off the day before there as well. So that was a good gig, and we had, you know, had a lot of fun during and afterwards, and I got to catch up with a few friends and make lots of new ones. But I think one of the highlights as well was that we played in Newcastle on the way back from Edinburgh, and we discovered a band called Blame Yourself. And I, you know, I love watching all the bands that we play every night, but it's so awesome when a band just like blows you away, and you meet them and you're like, wow, and it's inspiring, and like they were really nice and cool as well. We got on really well, and so just stuff like that. I would say probably those two. Another thing that was good about Newcastle was the venue that it's at. They would usually sort of turf everyone out and say, right, there's a gig on. If you want to stay, you need to pay or buy a ticket or leave.
Yep.
We kind of took the decision to ask the venue if actually, because there's quite a lot of people in there, you know, can they just stay and we'll just ask for some donations.
Yep.
And you know, people did. They donated loads of their hard-earned money for to watch a gig that they didn't even know they were going to go to, and they stayed and had a great time. And that kind of sense of community and stuff was really like palatable, and felt like it was you know, there was a bit of a buzz about it, and yeah, it just made the gig a bit better. And obviously we met the other band and stuff, so I'd say those two probably stick out. But all the shows were good. I mean, we played in Reading midweek, and it was absolutely packed. There was
Mm.
a first band, support band, who were all color coded in orange and like throwing oranges around, and that was crazy. And even the New Cross Inn show, we were supposed to play with Roughneck Riot, but unfortunately
Mm.
the band broke down, which was a shame. But that was, you know, that was great. People came out, and the support bands were great, and the gig just happened anyway. You know, and the guy that put us on in New Cross Ollie, he's a good friend of ours, and there was no sort of like, oh no, is the gig going to happen? It was like, of course it's going to
Yeah.
happen. You know, and yeah, it was just I always come back from tours and runs and stuff with just complete and utter, not only just feeling humble, but also just like massive uplifting of like faith restored in the UK and music scene, and wherever we've been, you know, there's just always hospitality, and there's always
Yeah.
people and good times and nice vibes. And I think, you know, hopefully, you know, we emanate those, and we hopefully get them reflected back onto us. Long may that continue. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely, because coming out of pandemic, wondering what grassroots venues would survive, the issues in hospitality, the apathy that existed pre, you know, a certain level of apathy that existed pre-pandemic when gigs weren't, you know, people weren't going to local gigs for whatever reason and so on. You know, I guess like you as well, I guess we just hope that the trend that we currently have sticks and that apathy doesn't slip back and we don't lose more venues and so on.
Absolutely, yeah. And grassroots music venues is, you know, doesn't matter who you are. That is the bread and butter at the end of the
Yeah.
day. The start of your journey, and you know, or the continuation of a journey or whatever. Um, and it's, you know, what it was weird. It was weird when all that stuff reopened, and
Mm.
you go to a gig and be sat down, or go in and sort of wearing masks, and you know, we had to pull a couple of shows because we weren't really sure about whether it felt like the right thing to do, whether we were supporting something that might be detrimental to people's health and whatever,
Mm.
and you know, mutually sort of had to consider not playing a couple of shows in conjunction with some promoters and things, and that felt like the right thing to do. So you know, there was all sort of the navigation of all those kind of decisions, and the politics around that obviously no one had to navigate before. And I know that some people are still maybe uncomfortable about going to gigs or playing gigs, and I absolutely support whatever that decision is. We are, as a group and as just musicians and music people, absolutely you know, completely pleased that all those things are happening again. But yeah, it is hard, isn't it? And it's hard um, to support local venues as it is, let alone sort of, you know, going along midweek and things like that. So some of those things that
Yeah.
we saw on tour was really nice. And you know, I always kind of use this bit of spiel on stage, like people who are there, and you know, I'm like, you're really lucky to have this venue in your town. Like,
Mm.
I played in Stafford on Saturday, and there's a great venue there with a really cool owner and a promoter, great sound. Everything was just great. And there's lots of local people there. And it's kind of, you're really lucky to have this, because not a lot of towns have this kind of thing, you know, a place where you can come, watch a few good bands for a fiver and whatever. And if you don't go, or you don't turn up, and you can't support them, then they won't be there. So it's, you know, I mean, that is kind of always my sort of go-to message, because I think it just resonates with a lot of people. And I think people, when they hear that as well, they're kind of like, you know, that's true, and we are lucky, aren't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't live in sort of a big metropolitan city with lots of
Course.
corners and venues, you know. So
No, you speak much sense there, and it's not just about supporting venues as well. It's also about supporting smaller local bands, bands that are on the rise, like yourselves. The tour was then, the EP is out. Well, basically, by the time you watch this, it's out. Take
yeah.
cover, but we still have 9 months of 2023 to go. So I want to ask you, what plans do you have in place that you can share for the remainder? Do you have anything in the works?
Yeah, we've got a couple of tours in the works. Hopefully going to be out in a couple of places in Europe as well.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
we've got some other songs brewing. We've got a couple of festivals brewing. We're gonna do a couple of videos. We've got a few other bits of sort of content that we want to put out. Yeah, we generally just want to kind of build everything up and progress up to the point where we're ready to release something else. And that's all I can tell you right now.
That
So
is
watch this
more than
space,
enough.
but yeah, we're just gonna keep pushing and yeah, keep keep on keeping on. I think yeah, while the going's good and the good is fun. So
It's incredible to hear. You detail so many things there that just screams an exciting year, and I'm really, really pleased to see it. Hear it. Nick, this is the part of the interview now where we do a quick round where it's 10 questions removed from a pool of 500. They are random.
right.
They can be serious, they can be silly, they can be a number of different things. You can
Okay.
answer them as quickly or as detailed as you so choose. So,
All right, man.
well, the first one is 3 words. You only need to come up with 3 words for the first one because you would need to describe Hell's Ditch to someone who knows absolutely nothing about you in just 3 words.
Good, clean fun.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Try and get another 5 minutes sleep.
All right, this one, I guess this one applies, may not apply, but I'll try it. What is your personal favorite zombie-related movie?
Zombie related movie. I'm going to go with Shaun of the Dead, I think.
Oh, lovely.
Movie.
Oh,
But we did just watch, there was a limited series from a few years ago called Dead Set. And it was,
Big Brother.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Charlie Brooker wrote it. And that was really good. And I kind of wish
Mm.
I'd watched that maybe when it came out. So it's a bit more sort of prevalent. But yeah, that was good. But movie, Shaun of the Dead every time.
Both massive, brilliant shout. Shaun of the Dead, obviously legendary movie. It's amazingly brought up Dead Set. Yeah, I can picture. I think I watched it myself only about 2 or 3 years ago. Felt really dated, obviously,
Yeah.
but thought it because it's Charlie Brooker as well. Yeah, I was still very impressed by it.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, this is a 2-part question. So first things first, do you have any tattoos?
Yes.
Okay.
Quite a few.
Okay, well then the second part before you start showing them off.
No.
Well, I don't think this is going to apply to that then. Do you have one that you're a little embarrassed about?
No, actually. Not so far. Maybe in a few years I might be, but
well, it tends to be one of those, did you get it when you were like 17, 18, thought it was cool, and I look back and go, oh, maybe not so much, but awesome that you don't.
no, I got them all actually quite later on because I didn't have any money when I was 17. So
It's the idea that, oh my God, you got lots of tattoos, you look like a certain type of person. That is an expensive hobby. I mean, I know I'm covered as well.
that's it, yeah.
What's a dream holiday location that you'd love to go to one day?
That I've not been to. I'd love to go to India.
Okay, anywhere particular in India?
I'm not sure. No, not really. No, just kind of traveling around. I've got a good friend of mine's been a few times to sort of the north and the south, and yeah, just kind of just to experience a complete culture shift and just immerse myself in something that's completely different and perhaps even a bit spiritual.
Oh, potentially, yeah, amazing. Okay, you're having a traditional English fry up.
Right.
Beans or tomatoes or both?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
Tinned or fried though?
No, fried, fresh.
Have you ever been to such a terrible show? And this doesn't just mean music, it could have been a theatre show or stand-up comedy or whatever. Such a terrible show that you've walked out from it.
I have not ever done that, no, because I feel like even when you're in that position and you're watching it and the whole thing's just burning itself down, you're like, but I paid to be here. So I'm going to stay and get my money's worth.
Fantastic. Okay. What's the strangest thing you own?
The strangest thing I own. not, I don't know if I own many very many strange things. The strangest thing I own. I'll tell you what I do have. I'm not sure
Hmm.
what they are, but I have. I cut my chin open when I was a kid, and for some mad reason, and I don't actually remember making the decision, but someone was like, "Do you want to keep the stitches?" So I've got those like in a small jar
Oh,
from like, I don't know, 25 years ago or something, with little scabs on them. That's a bit weird, I suppose.
that is going to be up there. That is an odd thing.
Yeah.
We've never had that answer before, put it that way. What's the best venue you've played in the UK so far?
Ever, or with Hell's
Yeah,
Ditch.
so yeah, Hell's Ditch. So far.
That's the best one you played with Hell's Ditch. I don't know, they're all great. I tell you what,
Yeah.
when we play, so downstairs at the Exchange in Bristol,
Yep.
and sometimes, you know, these venues can look on the surface quite underwhelming, but it's always those venues where the people who are doing the sound, I mean, they've got it down. And we did a gig there with Kalimasi last November, and we were just like absolutely blown away. The sound was great, and ramming all those people downstairs was great, and then the vibe was good. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite venue, but it's definitely up there with kind of like one of the most kind of like experiences. But yeah, it's, I think it's hard to pick because I'm a big fan of
Mm.
grassroots venues, and I'm, you know, I would hate for someone to watch this and think, you know, well, what about my venue? Because there are just so many great ones. So I'm just going to go with all the venues we've played have been my favorite. They're so
Yes.
diplomatic.
That is incredible politician's answer, but yep, no, I agree. It actually is. They're all amazing. And last but not least, okay, so yeah, what's the most overrated Disney film?
The most overrated Disney film. So I think the most overrated Disney film. Um, that's a tough, isn't it? Because
Mm,
they've all got their own moral value.
of
Um,
course.
the most overrated Disney film. I'll probably go with mm, something something like Finding Nemo, Disney Pixar vibes.
Okay, okay. Yep,
I'm
yeah,
not
that's
sure
cool.
why. Maybe it's because my mind's drawn a bit of a blank. I actually want to retract that answer because I actually find that that's a very heartwarming story, isn't it? About
Mm,
the fish who finds his dad. So um, I'm just not sure. I don't think I can answer. I think I'd just be upsetting someone or killing a fairy or something. Something would happen. I feel like I'm getting bad universe vibes if I answer this.
no, fair enough. We've only had that question come up once before, but it was in an opposite direction and it was about the best. So that was much easier for that person. So I don't
Yeah,
think it's
yeah, of
fair for you to get
course, yeah,
lumbered with that one. But
yeah.
before you go, I'm going to just throw out one extra of my own then. And this is specifically about Hell's Ditch and going forward. What's a realistic goal that you would like to achieve as a unit this year?
This year we want to
Mm.
obviously get our music out there and get it to as many people as possible. We kind of want to get out and play some towns, some places, some countries that we've not played. And I think all those things are going to happen. And I think what our sort of predominant goal would be to do another release at some point before the end of the year, or
Wow.
at least have another release in the bag, ready to let out the stroke of midnight 2023.
Incredible, incredible. That's fantastic. Of course, take cover. If you're watching this now, it is out, new EP from Hell's Ditch. Nick, thank you so much for taking the
No
time to
worries,
do
no
this. I
problem,
really
mate.
appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, man. Really nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?